Brothers and sisters, as we approach the election season this year, I wish to speak to you about three things: participation, conscience, and love. First, the Church encourages us to participate in the democratic process. In fact, the document of the U.S. bishops, Forming Consciences for Faithful Citizenship, reminds us that in the Catholic tradition, responsible citizenship is a virtue, and participation in political life is a moral obligation. This participation, which includes voting, goes beyond voting. As Pope Francis says, an authentic faith always involves a deep desire to change the world, to transmit values, to leave this earth somehow better than we found it. The Catechism of the Catholic Church states, "It's necessary that all participate, each according to his position and role, in promoting the common good. This obligation is inherent in the dignity of the human person. As far as possible, citizens should take an active part in public life. Thus, I say, get involved in making not only this country, but this world a better place, a place that is more just, more compassionate, more equitable." Secondly, the Church calls us to form our conscience. The Catechism of the Catholic Church describes the role of conscience in this way. In all that he says and does, a person is obliged to follow faithfully what he knows to be just and right. It is by the judgment of his conscience that a person perceives and recognizes the prescriptions of the divine law. Not only are we obliged to follow our conscience, we're required to form our conscience. How do we do this? 4 things are necessary as we form our conscience. First, an openness to the truth, an openness to what is right, not just to my preferences, but to the truth, what is right. Secondly, that we study sacred scripture, that we study the church teachings. What do these tell us about the issues that we face in our modern society? Thirdly, study the issues. What are the facts? What is the background? And fourthly, pray. Pray as we discern God's will for us in this world. When we fill out our ballot, let's do so with a formed conscience. Finally, and most importantly, the gospel calls us to love. In his recent encyclical, Pope Francis reminds us that we're called not only to be neighbors to each other, but brothers and sisters of a common humanity. We're called to love one another. This commandment is clear from Jesus. He says, "I give you a new commandment. Love one another. As I have loved you, so you also should love one another." Pope Francis observes that people can develop certain habits that might appear as moral values, yet if the acts of the various moral virtues are to be rightly directed, one needs to take into account the extent to which they foster openness and union with others. The spiritual stature of a person's life, he says, is measured by love, and the greatest danger lies in failing to love. As we participate at the ballot box this election season, let us form our conscience. Let us take our deliberations to prayer. Let's vote. And then continue to love our brothers and sisters, especially those who might vote differently than we do. This is not easy to do, but it is what Jesus calls us to do as his disciples. God bless you.